Hello everyone. As most of you know, I took an RV trip earlier this year to visit New Orleans during Mardi Gras. Rather than write a blog for this trip, I decided to put together a slideshow and post it here on YouTube. Since I have quite a few slides to share, I divided it into 3 parts, each around 15 to 20 minutes long. This is part 1. On the road again. The plan for this trip was to drive directly to New Orleans for Mardi Gras and then take a leisurely meander back home, seeing what sights I can. And so I headed down I-5 and didn't even take my first pictures until I was on Interstate 10, well east of Los Angeles. Here it's already the morning of my second day. I spent last night at a rest stop on Interstate 10, just east of Indio. This is Blythe, California, on the border with Arizona. Like so many of these southwest desert towns, doesn't seem to be much going on. By the way, I-10 runs all the way from Los Angeles to New Orleans. I'll stay on it the whole way. I figure it'll take me 5 days of steady driving. Not far from there, I hit the Arizona border. I'm now 600 miles from home, around noon of my second day. Just beyond the California border is the town of Quartzsite, Arizona. A neighbor of mine has a big Class A RV, and he raves about the Quartzsite RV show held there annually. When he heard I was traveling on I-10, he said I should be sure to stop there. I managed to get a picture of this sign as I drove into town, complete with the homeless person there on the right. To me, Quartzsite appears as just another of these desert towns. Not much going on when the RV show is not there. But now it's time to do some driving. It's the 3rd day of my trip and I'm taking I-10 through Phoenix, through Tucson, on into New Mexico, and finally I reach Las Cruces, New Mexico. This is a rest stop overlooking Las Cruces where I took a quick break for lunch. So far I've traveled over 1,100 miles. Here's a view of Las Cruces from one of the huts at the rest stop. And a bit of a closer view. Those mountains in the distance are called the Organ Mountains, Sierra de los Alganos, supposedly because the peaks reminded early settlers of the great organs in the cathedrals of Europe. Maybe. In any event, the interstate doesn't go through Las Cruces directly, but bends to the right here and heads south. And it's not long before I reach El Paso. As you can imagine, a lot of border patrol activity around here. In this area, Interstate 10 runs directly along the U.S.-Mexico border for quite a distance. It was easy to see a lot of the new border wall that has just been constructed, as well as large sections of a previously existing fence. Okay, we are moving now. It is the 4th day of my trip and Fort Stockton is another 250 miles east of El Paso. I hope it comes through here that there is a lot of desert in the southwest United States, basically all the way from Los Angeles to at least San Antonio. More driving. My goodness, I made it to the Louisiana border. It's now my 5th day of driving. But New Orleans is in the eastern part of the state, so I've still got a bit of driving to do. It's now the morning of day 6. I thought this shot was interesting. There were a number of places where the road was like this, driving through swampland with each direction of the road supported by pilings, with a man-made bayou running down the center. This bayou was clearly man-made since it went dead straight for many miles, every once in a while being intersected by other waterways at right angles. I also saw a fair number of small fishing boats here and there down below. Well, we're getting closer to New Orleans, so I need to document some of the passage. Time to cross the Mississippi. As you can see, the Mississippi is clearly a working river here. And on the left, you can see Baton Rouge, sitting right on the Mississippi. Still more driving, and hey, made it to New Orleans. You can see the Superdome there on the right near downtown. Having arrived in New Orleans, one of the first orders of business was, where am I going to spend the night? I was incredibly fortunate and found this parking lot $25 for 24 hours, and literally 2 blocks from the French Quarter. It was now early afternoon on the Friday before Mardi Gras. Welcome to the French Quarter. People were ready, and it was only a few short blocks walking through the French Quarter to arrive at Bourbon Street. And this was only Friday, but the crowds were already in full swing. This is Bourbon Street right here. It was pretty packed. And people were looking for a good time. Didn't see a lot of public drunkenness or any of that type of stuff. People were just wanted to have a good time. And there was more junk. Everybody was throwing junk of all sorts, beads, light sticks at night, whatever you have, all over the place. It was just unbelievable. You had to keep your hand above your head just out of self-protection. This young lady was doing a pretty good business there. I have a video here, and you can see the dancing, you can see the people throwing beads from the balcony. Look out, the sound is a little bit loud here. Yep, people were having a good time. And I was touring around in the French Quarter and saw this shop. These masks reminded me very much of the Carnival masks in Venice, Italy, when I went there a number of years ago. I ended up buying one of these masks. It was kind of funny. These ones like you see up on the wall here were like $35, but if they had feathers, as in the far wall, they went up to $200 or $300. And the high-end ones in Venice were like €1,000, but unbelievably beautiful. And who knew? There's such a thing as a Mardi Gras tree. Never knew it before this. Okay, we are now in Jackson Square. This is the heart of the French Quarter, and that is St. Louis Cathedral. I have some more pictures later of the inside of that. But Jackson Square is right on the Mississippi River. So if we turn around from here, we are looking out at the river, and another close-up of a riverboat. So here we go. This is one of the main events, one of the parades on the Friday evening before Mardi Gras. I mean, Mardi Gras parades are big business for New Orleans. They have parades starting right after New Year's all the way up to Mardi Gras. And the week before Mardi Gras, they had 5, 6 parades a night, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all the way up through Fat Tuesday. Pretty amazing. So here we go. Some of the pictures aren't great, but I've got them all here just to give you an idea. It was pretty amazing. And they just kept on coming. These floats would go on for a while, then they would stop. They'd go another 100 yards. They'd stop. They'd go another 100 yards. And everybody on all the floats is throwing an unbelievably wide array of things. You can see people holding their hands up, trying to catch something and also to protect themselves. These are mostly double-deckers. The guys from the top can throw a lot further. Just an incredible array of different, very, very professionally done floats. Here's one with a Ouija board, looks like. And here come the Elvis impersonators. The parade was stopped for a little bit, so all these guys on motor scooters or whatever came flooding through. Here was this guy, he picked up, I don't know, something they were throwing up. They had little frisbees, they had light sticks, they had light balls, they had, of course, tons of beads, and he must have found something in the street there that somebody wanted, so he brought it over to give to them. Okay, so that was the parade for Friday. It is now Saturday afternoon. And I've got another video here. You can see the band, and let's let her roll. Everybody just having a good time. One thing that's interesting here is this sign. You see in a sign it says Crew of Lafcadio, I guess it is. Crew spelled Krewe. All the parades are called Crew of this, Crew of that, often after a Greek god. The one last night was the Crew of Muses. There's also a Crew of Bacchus. Later tonight I watched the Crew of Endymion. But not always a Greek god. Lafcadio was apparently an author. You can see some of his books on the lower left there, who wrote books on New Orleans cooking and New Orleans culture. Continuing our tour of the French Quarter, this is the French Market, an open air market. Lots of different stalls there. Jewelry stall here. And famous gator on a stick. Well, you know, I had to try that. Unfortunately, I ate it before I could get a picture of it, and this is the best I could do. It was actually pretty tasty. Some of the wrought iron balconies, walking through the French Quarter. And here, if you can read the sign, is the Cornstalk Fence Hotel, named for obvious reasons. This is another famous corner here. I think this is right on Bourbon Street. And I had to get a picture of yours truly. Now we're back at Jackson Square at St. Louis Cathedral. I took a couple pictures inside. Really a beautiful church. And the ceiling. As long as I was in New Orleans, I decided to do a little more sightseeing. They had this 1850 house, which is right off of Jackson Square. Very nicely furnished, very nicely done. I guess it, one of these pre-Civil War type things. Very nice display. And who knew? A baby walker from 1850? Geez, unbelievable. I would have never guessed that one. Okay, now it is Saturday night, and I've got a few pictures from the Crew of Endymion. Again, you see all the people on the right there with their hands up over their heads, because, man, these guys just were unbelievable barrage of stuff coming from the upper deck of these floats. Not as many slides for this one tonight. And this is actually my last slide of the parade and my last slide of New Orleans. Time to move on. See you in part 2.